I believe there's a hero in all of us. Gives us strength, makes us noble. Even though sometimes we have to give up the thing we want the most.
Barker!
Where you been? Looking for you all morning.
You're late.
Always late!
You're fired.
Look at you, Peter. Your grades have been declining. You always appear exhausted.
I know, I'm trying.
So where you been, pal? You don't return my calls.
I've been kind of busy.
Taking pictures of your friend. Spider-Man killed my father.
The Marvel Cinematic University. I am your professor, Mario Rivera, and joining me is the marvelous doctoral student, Cyclone MC, who is a bachelor's in the MCU, a master's in the multiverse, and is going for their dissertation in Marvel Studies. Sly, how are you doing? This is not the first time we've done the opening.
It is not, but you nailed it both times,
Thank
so
you.
I'm proud of you. I am very happy to be here, of course. We're talking today about the one and only Spider-Man 2. So I had to represent. I have my Peter Parker falling like pieces into place sweatshirt. So, going for the vibes today.
Fantastic. It is good to see you. I missed this show. I'm very happy that we're back and we get to talk about possibly one of the greatest non-Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And so this is definitely going to be a fun one. I think we enjoyed, obviously, the last one. And we're continuing the saga of Tobey Maguire and him not dating MJ for some reason. So we'll go ahead and go through it. We'll get to it. Which, of course, goes ahead and moves us to our very first class, history class, where I tell you a little bit about the facts. Of course, we're going to be talking about Spider-Man 2, which came out in 2004, directed by Sam Raimi. It is written by Alvin Sargent, who, of course, has done a ton of movies, including Paper Moon, Unfaithful, Spider-Man 3, and he's also co-written The Amazing Spider-Man, which we'll be talking later. And, of course, this studio is Sony Columbia Pictures. The stars are still Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco, adding Alfred Molina to the group, and, of course, J.K. Simmons and Rosemary Harris from the last film. A lot of returning people. So surprise guests also come back, but we'll talk about that at the appropriate time for sure. Where can you stream this? Originally, you could stream this on Peacock, but it has been since removed. And Sly, where did you find this again?
Crackle? I don't know, fam. But it was free, so I'm not going to complain about it.
Good. No, that's good. Because I was immediately like, I'll send you money. Don't worry. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. So glad you found it. I was trying to search for you. I thought it was on Hulu. If you have Hulu TV, apparently you can watch it with live TV and watch it with commercials or whatever. But otherwise, Crackle seems to be your jam. There's probably commercials in there too, I assume, right?
No.
There wasn't? Wow.
I was shocked.
That is shocking. Usually when you have any of those services like Tubi or anything, they're totally funded by ads. So that is actually pretty surprising. Of course, if you can you read us the plot of the movie, which of course comes from IMDb. It is someone edited in. So let's see how this goes.
It's a meaty one, but This is a meaty movie. So let's get it. Peter Parker is an unhappy man. Understatement of the century, right off the bat. After 2 years of fighting crime as Spider-Man, his life has begun to fall apart. The girl he loves is engaged to someone else. His grades are slipping. He cannot keep any of his jobs. And on top of it, the newspaper Daily Bugle is attacking him viciously, claiming that Spider-Man is a criminal. He reaches the breaking point and gives up the crime fighter's life once and for all. But after a failed fusion experiment, eccentric and obsessive scientist Dr. Otto Octavius is transformed into supervillain Dr. Octopus, or Doc Ock for short, having 4 long tentacles as extra hands. Peter guesses it might just be guesses?
It's like, I don't know.
Peter, why not?
Yeah.
Peter guesses it might just be the time for Spider-Man to return, but would he act upon it? Question mark.
Thank you, the person that submitted this, Sumitra. I'm very curious how long ago this has been updated, or if this has just been there since 2004. Who knows? This movie, of course, has the comic book characters Spider-Man, Doc Ock, Mary Jane, Harry Osborn, Aunt May, and some others, just to name a few. But of course, this is the beginning of the show where we get to go ahead and have open discussion. So we're going over to our Stanley seminar where we get to talk about the film and really say how we feel. So a little behind the curtain, I watched this in May in preparation of watching the new Spider-Man movie that was coming out, and you watched it an hour ago. But you've seen it before, right? This is one you've seen before?
This is one where like I knew the general plot, and I
Yeah.
feel like I saw it like one time on one of those movie channels,
Sure.
but I have like no memories of actually physically watching it. And so this is the first time I really like sat down and like experienced it.
That's good. That's good.
And I, you know, I sat down and I was kind of like, I think this is the one that everybody says is like the best one of them, but could also be the one that everybody says is the worst. So I went into it like, I don't know if this is going to be great or terrible.
It's a good way to go in.
You know what? Pretty good.
Yeah, overall.
Overall, pretty good.
No, that's it. That's good. I of course saw this movie in theaters. It was sort of, actually, I'll tell a little sad story and then we'll move into the actual talk of it. But I think I talked about it a little bit when we did the first one. But I remember distinctly my grandmother, who I absolutely adored, took me to go see the movie. And that's one of my defining memories of her before she sadly a couple years later passed away due to having cancer. It was when this movie came out, it was sort of my sort of tribute to her of being able to experience the movie. However, I was definitely deeply missing her at the time. Not the same experience, but still enjoy the movie. Overall, it's still, in my opinion, one of the seminal, pre-MCU films that still holds up as a film. And overall, I'm very excited to hear your thoughts. So sounds like you generally like it. Was there anything going into this one? Because I know that we saw the first one not that long ago. Your take of like where these characters went next.
Yeah, I was really concerned about what they were gonna do with MJ. Just because, the first one, they don't really give her much.
No.
And so I wasn't expecting much out of her character. She, is a character that is female in the mid 2000s.
Does she have friends?
So, like, she doesn't have friends, but that's fine, I guess.
Do any of the women in this movie have friends? Does Betty Brant have friends?
The real question here is why don't we see any other women in this film? I will say Rosie, love Rosie, R.I.P.
Yes.
She was my favorite. But yeah, no, just like overall, it's a good film. It's a good superhero movie, and it's a good sequel.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying it's perfect by any means. Like, there's, lots to pick apart there. But I think something that really contributes to how well this is held up and how much people enjoy it is all of the antagonists in this film you can sympathize with.
Yeah.
I mean, with the exception of like J. Jonah Jameson, who is just like the comedic relief, right?
Yes.
But all of the antagonists you can relate to and you can understand their motivations, and that makes for such more of a compelling story than having like these big spectacle wars that we've kind of grown accustomed to
I agree.
with the MCU. I want to be sitting there being like, like Harry's going through some trauma. Like, I get that he just tried to kill his best friend, but also his dad just died and never processed that. Like, I get it. I understand, like,
Yes.
where you're coming from.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you nailed what I think is the most successful thing about these movies specifically. However, they keep falling through the same trope, and I think it's funny where this movie, at the very least, was establishing hero stories. But for instance, the main bad guy in this is Dr. Octavius. He, of course, it goes through a transformation in a way where you feel bad because you got to spend time with him before he becomes this, maniacal person, which he's not necessarily maniacal. He's always still like focusingly doing it for a reason. It is a selfish reason, but at the same time, it's you got to spend time with him and his wife, and he got to tell their story, and you just feel for it. However, I will say, I think just because they told that story, there is a sort of fridging aspect of what happens with his wife in a way that is not even resolved nor brought up ever again. For the most part, it's
Nope.
brought up
They
once.
just her, and
Yeah.
that was it, and it was just never acknowledged.
Never really.
Which
Yeah.
justice for Rosie. That's
Justice
all
for
I'm
Rosie.
gonna-
Yes, 100%. Did she have any friends? No, I'm just kidding. But ultimately, yeah, I still have a lot of fun with this movie as a sequel. I still think the first one, to me, is my favorite Tobey Maguire film because there's just something special about your first time and having to see that costume in action, and even the scenes all the scenes for me are memorable, even if they're not as nearly action as this one. This one has the thing that's most like critically everyone claims for is the action, and specifically the train scene is by far one of the most iconic fight scenes in all of superhero. We still haven't really even, I would say, come close to seeing something like this, even in the newer Spider-Man movies. But it's
That's
damn good.
funny because I mean the train scene was excellent. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but that wasn't the scene that stuck out to me. The scene that stuck out to me
Was it the bank?
was the clock tower,
Yeah.
where he webs the clock hand and throws it back, and that was my like, oh shit
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, that all attributes to it for sure. But yeah, just being able to, it just CGI Kate was coming so far at that point, and to be able to see Dr. Ock fight Spider-Man, like it was wild. Because the only thing I had at that point was the '90s cartoon, which was cool, but this blew it out of the water, obviously. In terms of some of the other characters and their journeys, so you were wondering what was going on with Mary Jane. How did you feel they handled her character going forward? I know that she was someone that wanted to be an actress, I believe, in the last one. How do you think they handled her journey?
It's a mixed bag, right? I think I really love that we get to see her, becoming an actress, because that's like her dreams coming true,
Yeah.
and you get to compare that to Peter, who is going through this journey of realizing he can't achieve all his dreams, while MJ is kind of achieving all her dreams. She's getting the role in the play, she's getting the boy, like she's achieving all her dreams,
astronaut.
and he's getting none of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, good for her going out there and getting a relationship. It didn't really do much, like, for the story other than be a point of conflict. But I gotta say, her wedding dress, beautiful. That girl has taste.
That's good. That's good. I hope whoever paid for it, if it was either her or J. Jonah Jameson, even
I really
so,
hope it was J. Jonah Jameson who had to pay for that dress.
such a great joke when he's when they find out that she's not coming and he's talking
With
to
the
the
caviar.
Yeah, don't pack away the caviar. So good. What is your? Go ahead. Do you have something to say?
No, I feel like this, like the first movie was so fun and exciting, and we get to like see Spider-Man, and the action was
Mhm.
incredible, and it was like it felt like a spectacle. And this felt like a character piece. Like
Sure.
it was very much a character-driven story. And I don't know if I could say I liked one better than the other. They're
Mhm.
just so different, but they're
Yeah.
I've enjoyed so much.
This one definitely, I think, cranked up a lot of some comedy moments. Specifically, the whole opening really is sort of just Spider-Man just getting his butt kicked, but not by supervillains, by employment,
Life.
life. Like he's just trying to, be a pizza boy on this moped, and with every turn, he just can't help but do the right thing. So, very instantly, the famous scene of him saving the kids. My favorite scene of all time, even though it's so gross, is when he had to put the pizzas on the windowsill, and this guy is just trying to eat a slice, and he webs it back. I mean, what do? Do you put that back? You put that slice back? And like, what did you know? The pizza boxes were all smashed.
Apparently.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. I do love that he, like, the next scene is he's in the like linen closet trying to change from his outfit. So I thought that was pretty funny. There's like a interesting, well, I guess it wasn't a cameo. I didn't think that this actress would be, I got to know this actress later in life, which, if you don't know, is Zoe Deschanel's sister, who plays Bones on the TV show Bones on Fox. Yeah, it's so interesting how I was like, oh yeah, I know you later as Bones. And same thing, I know the guy in the elevator as Hal Sparks. He was in Dude, Where's My Car? But I know him from Do You Love the '80s, which was on VH1, which was just a recap show of like all the cool stuff that happened in the '80s. So he's just one of those VH1 guys, like sits at the camera and talks. But other than that, and then you have I forgot his name, but he's the guy that owns the pizza restaurant. There's just so many comedians and like in random spots in this. And this movie is definitely more funnier, but also I would say there's a lot of horror stuff in here too, which I found very fascinating. What was your thoughts on the scene specifically when they tried to saw off the tentacles off of Dr. Ock's back?
That was a moment.
Yeah, that was terrifying, right?
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, wow, they went there." I wasn't like I was more surprised by the lengths they were willing to show how badly he, like, mutilated these doctors.
Yes.
And that was just like this movie has such an interesting tone because it's
Yes.
like emo boy Peter Parker being all depressed and shit, right?
Yeah.
And also this like very humorous interactions that are like really relatable. And then also this dude's just gonna straight up murk people.
I love that. Yeah. It's because that's, the history of Sam Raimi before this was really just dark comedies and horror movies. I mean, he did the 2 Evil Dead movies. Actually, there's a moment in the movie, in that scene, where a doctor pulls a chainsaw and tries to go at it, which is clearly ripped straight from Evil Dead. So it's 100% just things of his past coming in and creeping into this movie. So it makes me really excited for Doctor Strange, because I love that history and that legacy. So can't wait to see because you're gonna go crazy. You're gonna go crazy in that film too. So yeah, that's definitely something I was happy to see, and also weird to see in the Spider-Man movie. But
Yeah, it was the thing. It was odd to see, but it was really well balanced.
yes,
And like talking about like comparing to the MCU, I have been pretty critical about Thor Ragnarok. I did not enjoy that film. I understand why people really love that film,
sure,
but for me it was just too much of a hard contrast between a really dark, gritty, like upsetting, sad
mythology show.
story
Yeah, exactly.
and an over the top comedy. And I feel like it was 2 movies happening at the same time
Sure,
and they didn't blend at all. And like that was I was not a fan of Thor Ragnarok. Like there were so many awesome moments, it just didn't work as a whole.
sure.
And so when I started to get the vibe of like, oh, they're going for humor, but it's also pretty dark,
Hmm.
I was a little iffy, but I think Sam Raimi really knows how to blend those elements together.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit of the horror aspects with this tragic character of, being controlled by these, these robotic arms, but also someone who
He
is sad.
literally has
Yeah.
an AI manipulating his brain. Like,
Yes.
what? Like, I just feel so bad for the dude.
I do, especially with the last scene, one of his last scenes where he's like, "Listen to me now," like, oh, just
Mhm.
no, 100%. Like, I adore that very very specifically. Sorry, I'm thinking about other movies, but ultimately, I think this movie is a success for it being a sequel to a film and upping the ante with what they did with CGI in terms of the characters, making me sympathetic with the villain again. I mean, I wasn't necessarily fully sympathetic with Norman Osborn, for instance, but this one specifically, yeah, like from the jump, I felt bad. And whenever he did something evil ish, I was, still like hesitant, but I was still on his side in a way.
Mhm.
Hoping that he wasn't going to push it too far. But Norman Osborn, is somewhat of a, cutthroat scientist as he portrays himself to be. At the same time, there is something deep and dark inside him that's making him do it. But yeah, the Sam Raimi movies somehow do allow you to be sympathetic for the villain, and I find that to be fascinating, especially how we carry on in the future. So yeah, definitely overall. Was there any other pinpoints you wanted to talk about in specifically in the movie? Any other
Um,
things?
there's two things.
Hmm.
Overall, I thought the visual effects seemed to hold up really well,
Yeah.
except for the last scene
Hmm.
where it's going through the streets and it's the police helicopters
Hmm.
just looked so fake, and I was just like, I you had me all the way up until that very last like bit, and I was like, ooh, you're showing your age here.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Uh,
um
any other spots? Because I have a few things I do want to bring up.
Yeah, I just thought it was really interesting to look at the progression of Peter's character
Yes.
throughout this film and his relationship with like his confidence and his powers.
Hmm.
There's that really interesting dynamic of like at the beginning he's like starting to like lose control of his powers like with the webs and all that and like falling and feeling more beat up and then at later when we start to get into like the act 3 him sort of like growing back into his powers
Hmm.
and I just thought that was such an interesting way to tell another layer to the story.
Yeah, I remember at the time I was wondering like, how does he lose his powers? It didn't make sense to me. But for this idea of sort of like him just having trouble in his personal life and that's affecting his abilities in a lot of way and his like concentration. And so ultimately, yeah, it grew to sort of understand, later in life, you kind of all kind of go through these experiences. And so this was a fun, like sort of coming of age story of having to deal with that and not getting everything you want, but also sacrificing things and, trying to do the greater good. Ultimately, I mean, I think this definitely goes in his favor at the end of the day. But still, I do see all those wonderful things that I think the story was trying to tell. This is an interesting movie because this is not necessarily a story that's told in comics other than the main part, which is Spider-Man No More, which is the same story of Spider-Man is trying to give up being the character of Spider-Man because he's just tired of it, how it's affecting his life. And that's really just the main thrust of the story. It is an original story with Dr. Octavius, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think I've ever read a comic where he's building a reactor or, riding on a train, murdering people or robbing from, I'm sure there's a robbing from bank comic somewhere out there. But a few things I did want to bring up, specifically the ending, because I think the ending is actually pretty interesting. Did you notice there's a returning actor in this movie playing a different role?
I did not.
Is it not? So if you remember in Spider-Man, the first one, in the wrestling scene, there is an announcer that gives him his name. It's like the Amazing Spider-Man, that guy. That actor is played by Bruce Campbell, who is the original actor from the Evil Dead movies. He's a really funny guy. He plays the guy that stops Peter Parker from going into the play in this.
Oh, the usher?
The usher.
Oh my gosh.
So
That's incredible.
it's
Good
the
for him.
No, 100%. He's the same person. Oh, the other little fact that we didn't talk about it, but the Uncle Ben's car is the same car from Evil Dead. But other than that, he will return again in the next one in a totally different role. But I'll tell you the reason why now was because supposedly his character was set up so that way in every movie he was going to have a different role, because by the fourth or fifth one he was going to be Mysterio.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was originally going to be Mysterio.
Nice.
In the Spider-Man video game, the Mysterio's in it, voiced by him. So it would have been
incredible.
Yeah, he would have been like a
Do you
side villain.
think he's coming back?
Yeah. So well, now that we have Sam Raimi directing multiple madness, anything's possible at this point. I'm very excited. I would love. Oh my god, if they did alternate universe version and it's Bruce Campbell as Mysterio, I would lose my shit.
Incredible.
You know, John Malkovich was supposed to be the Vulture in the fourth one. Oh, it would have been so great. That was something I wanted to bring up. So let me go ahead and let's talk about the ending of the film. The ending of the film, of course, is Dr. Octavius, comes to. They have that wonderful, beautiful moment. And there's a line that breaks me every time. And it's he's like, Dr. Octavius, it's me. And he like pulls out his mask and he's like, Peter, what was it? Oh my God, was it brilliant but lazy? Makes me cry every time. Makes me cry every time. Just a beautiful line. What did you think of this end piece? And I will say, this is another one of those, Mary Jane's caught and we have to rescue her and she's the MacGuffin of the plot, and that does not end. But
Doc Ock's story at the end with that scene and him like stopping Peter from going to the reactor and making that choice for himself, that was so powerful. And then also at the same time to have MJ like need saving, and then you almost get such a badass moment of her picking up, and I was like, oh yes, we're gonna get it, smack him, and then we don't. And if they had just gone through with that, I would have like had so much more love for her end story. One of the things about this whole film, the whole time, I was just like, wow, Peter Parker's being an idiot, making the decision for her without giving her the option. And for that end scene where she was like let me make that choice, I was like, yes, we love to see it. Feminist moment, great. I just wish they gave her just a little bit more to do there.
I agree. Ultimately, the main problem of the movies overall is just the sort of lackadaisical treatment of Mary Jane in terms of her just being an object for Peter and not having a whole lot of. This is what I think the movies now do better in terms of the Amazing Spider-Man and also the Tom Holland films. I think Zendaya does a fantastic job as MJ. And if I could compare the two, to me, they're night and day. I do love Kirsten Dunst and what she's doing, and I love certain aspects of it. But to me, the character is just mistreated in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I love her portrayal. She was not given the writing she deserves.
Yes, I agree. And I know that she could be a fantastic actress because I've seen Interview with the Vampire and I've seen some other films that she's been in. And it just sucks that, out of the trio of people in this film, like for instance, Harry Osborn, played by James Franco, is another one that sort of like is in the background. And I will say, like, I personally don't enjoy his character in this movie as much because he's just sort of this weird, like, business guy. He's like, we're going to make millions. And I'm just like, you're not your father. I'm sorry. Like, nowhere near close are you, William Dafoe. which of course we get a little cameo from William Dafoe at the end of this film. Did you think was that coming for you? Did you know about that?
I had no idea. That
No
was
idea?
total shocker.
That's
Once he
awesome.
started hearing the voices, I went, "Oh boy, we're in
Yeah.
it."
Yeah, here we go.
But yeah, like I okay, I'm gonna make two references to Spider-Man PS4, the video game.
That's fine.
Because of course, the first big that game gave me such a love for Harry as a character.
I
Like
agree.
I fell in love with the choices they made in that game.
He's not even on
for
screen for
Harry.
majority of that game.
He's not there. Like you get his
Mm-mm.
voice recordings, and that's like most of his character development.
Yeah.
And so
Talks about
I
his
was
mother.
the whole
So good.
time I was just holding out. I was like, I love your character. Please, just like make me love you. So I really wanted to like his character.
Sure.
But yeah, he was just trying too hard to be like, I'm following in my father's footsteps.
Yeah.
But that end scene with the mirror,
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. He walks
What a
in
moment.
and sees all the stuff. I'm like, yes. Wonder what that's setting up.
The other moment that I was like, oh, Spider-Man PS4 was the grave
Yes.
identical. The whole like grave site, I was like, I have ran through that grave in the game so many times.
That's and there's achievements in both games, I think, in the section as well. No, for sure. Here's a fun part about the ending. So we're gonna talk about so yes, no, Dr. Octavius technically saves the day, drowns with his reactor. Peter his identity is revealed to MJ, which is like, no, she's totally shocked by it. They have a moment, and then he lets her go again to her astronaut boyfriend, played by, I forget what the actor's name is. It's J. Jonah Jameson's son, who becomes a villain in like the comics, which is kind of cool. He's actually in Venom too as well, I think. So we'll talk about that when we get to Venom. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So okay, she's gonna go get married, and she walks and then she does not go to the altar. And there's that great shot of her running, smiling, going down. There's a guy in the background that looks behind her. I want you to know this, because I hate this. There was a chance that people thought that the guy that was looking at her was Thomas Jane from The Punisher.
Oh,
And then they thought
that
that
would have been a choice.
Yeah. But luckily it's not. It just, for years, people in the air, I was like, Thomas Jane's in Spider-Man 2. And it's just a guy that looks like Thomas Jane because he's wearing all black, and everyone thinks that he's the character. And I'm like, no, that's not it. There's
Can you
literally,
imagine
Yeah.
being that extra and your entire existence on the internet is just relegated to being a lookalike? Poor dude.
not actual trivia, which is even worse. It's like, you're not Thomas Jane, so therefore everyone thinks you're Thomas Jane, and we will write about you in articles for years to come. Yeah, that's how I literally, when I was researching for the pop quiz, I saw that again. I was like, yeah, okay, we know. But the ending that I really want to talk about, and I think this is the most important part, is we actually didn't talk about his apartment, by the way.
Oh, freaking apartment.
With Dickovich, which is his landlord, which is named after Steve Ditko, which is really cool. But they added the bitch to it. But I love Rent. Where's my rent? Is a great joke and is always everywhere on the internet. And I love his daughter, I think, as well, like the sort of like mousy
Was
woman.
a fat crush on
There's
Peter.
a fucking fat crush.
Love that.
Fat. Oh my god! Wait, I
For
can't wait.
her.
Can't wait till you see part 3. It's even better.
Oh boy.
The crush is even funnier. But the real ending is so Mary Jane shows up at his door, and they have that speech, and it's really, really sweet, honest. And she says that, like, I forgot. I'm blanking on the actual speech, but it was really, really, really sweet. And what did you think of when they're about? I think they kiss, but then he hears the sirens, and she's like, "Go get him, Tiger." And
So good.
Yeah.
That just made me so happy. It was like, yes, we love that. We love that she can be confident and independent and gets the man and also says, like, the city relies on you. Go get him. I'll be here.
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing. You go do your thing.
And
And it's great.
I love that it's her choice. Like, it's not like he made the choice in the first one. This is her choice in the second one. I like that a lot. My favorite moment, though, is he puts on the suit. He jumps out the window. She's looking out the window and she's smiling at first, but then it falls. And it's one of those shots where it's just like, you're happy, but then you're also kind of a little sad because then that's their life. And that's what it might be. And that is, to me, is always stuck with me in such a way of like, you're going to end your movie on that in a way where I'm like, it's sort of beautiful, but melancholy at the same time.
And that shot is so gorgeous with her in like behind the door, and it's like pinned out to the building, and she's in the dress, and her face just falls. And that was just such a gorgeous shot. It was incredible.
Yeah, it's if anything has ever stuck with me, it's still the moment of just like, yeah, we're getting everything we want, but what at what cost? And I think that if we got a stronger third movie, it would have been better. But at the same time, I think just them ending on that is so interesting for the story, because it could have easily been like, and we are happier ever after. And I think it's so much better with sort of like an ambiguity to it. And I think that
the whole movie felt so grounded, and it felt like all of these situations were things you could conceivably see yourself in, besides the super villain fighting, whatever. But to have that moment, and if it was just a happily ever after, I think it would be such a disservice to the story this movie's telling. And for them to be like, you know what, we can have nice things, we can have some of our dreams, but we can't have all of them. And that's just such a reality track, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And I think the way they do it is just so well done.
Yeah, I agree. And that will conclude our little Stanley seminar of our general thoughts of the film, which is pretty fantastic. Moving on, though. This is the best part. We're going on to drama class. I got a bunch of stuff, but we don't obviously have to do all of them. I think we have, let's see here. Some of these are just goofs. There's one right here from Mary Parker. I don't know if you would like to read all of that. I could absolutely do it. But I think the elevator one will be next.
I love the elevator scene.
Okay, here.
Absolutely, we should do that one.
All right, let's do the elevator first, because I just like how quick it is. So do you want to be the elevator passenger, or do you want to be Spider-Man?
I want to be the elevator man.
Okay. And scene.
Cool Spidey outfit.
Thanks. That's my Tobey Maguire. Just a thanks.
Where'd you get it?
I made it.
Looks uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's kind of itchy. And it rides up the crotch a little bit too.
Dude reaches over, hits the button.
Yeah, like I gotta get the fuck out of here.
All right.
Yeah, I'm out of here. That's done. This is a good one. I like this one. The J. Jonah Jameson trying to figure out which, by the way, this is a cute reference, and then we'll get there. Do you want to be J. Jonah, or do you want to be Hoffman?
I'll be J. Jonah.
Give me your best J. Jonah impression.
What are we gonna call this guy?
Dr. Octopus?
That's crap.
Science Squid?
Crap.
Doctor Strange?
That's pretty good.
Okay.
But it's taken. Wait. I got it. Dr. Octopus.
But
I like it. Wait, no, that's your line.
Doesn't matter. Oh man. I'll read the next one. Of course you do. Dr. Octopus, new villain in town. Doc Ock. So good. What are you looking for? Raise, get out. Yeah, that was a cute little reference. The fact that Doctor Strange exists in the world, and here we are now. So that is really dope. That's so cool. Let's see here.
I just love how getting like when you go into MCU movie, you know that these are like all interconnected. You know
Mhm.
all these characters exist in the same space and most of them know each other, right? And so going through all of these non-MCU Marvel movies, every time you get that little tease of like, oh, this person's there, that reference is there, it just gives it such more impact, I think,
Mhm.
compared to the MCU. You just kind of expect it. Like, you know, all these people know each other. And
Yeah.
so,
No, I agree. There's actually, this is funny. In the novelization for Spider-Man 2, the person that like wrote the book on the script, in the
mhm.
scene where Dr. Octavius is giving his big, experiment thing, which I'm going to do his quote because it's my favorite. When things are going down, in the room is Dr. Hank Pym from Ant-Man in the book. And
Amazing.
there's a
That's
part
awesome. I
there's
love that.
there's a part in the book though where they said that a shard of glass was coming in a direction, and then all of a sudden it changed direction, and there was not an explanation why. But we all know that
Amazing.
Dr. Pym shrunk down, did something in the room, and then like went back, and I'm like, that is cool. That is a cool thing that obviously is not in the movie, but it's funny that they had that, I guess, in the script or in the novelization. So I think that's pretty funny. One of my favorite lines in that scene is Dr. Octavius, of course, saying, "Before we start, did anybody lose a bunch of 20s rolled up in a rubber band? Because we found the rubber band."
Good. And like I love how he's set up as like the eccentric but charming like
Yes.
scientist. And that moment, so good.
So good. And then, of course, his famous line, which is, "Peter, now I remember you. You're Dr. Connor's student. He tells me you're brilliant. He also tells me you're lazy." So good.
The first time we get that line, it's like, oh, like, wow, he's like, going through all this stuff, trying to balance his life. And then when we get it the second time, it's just like, oh, ouch,
Yeah.
straight to the heart.
Straight to the heart. The one that I passed up early on is, of course, the May Parker speech, where we didn't talk about May Parker at all. She's in this movie. She's
Great in
going
this.
she's going through hard times. There's actually a scene where I think Peter, yes, sorry, it is this movie. He reveals that he was there the night that Ben died, and may have caused it happen. And she disappears because she's upset, but then she gives him this really beautiful speech, which I'll go ahead and I'll just read it since it'll be really quick. And he's, of course, talking about there's a little kid that's a fan of Spider-Man. "He knows a hero when he sees one. Too few characters out there flying around like that, saving an old girls like me. And Lord knows, kids like Henry need a hero. Courageous, self-sacrificing people, setting examples for all of us. Everyone loves a hero. People line up for them, cheer for them, scream their names. And years later, they'll tell how they stood in the rain for hours just to get a glimpse of the ones who taught them how to hold on a second longer." Oof, I felt that one. "I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble, and finally allows us to die with pride. Even though sometimes we'll have to be steady and give up the things we want the most, even our dreams." Literally the theme of the movie. Rest in peace, Marius Parker, who is sadly no longer with us. Okay. Let's go on to our next class, Music Room, which of course is Music Room is where the superhero movies of this era are remembered for their original soundtrack. Does the music in this movie hold up, or have any songs that are still bangers today? There's quite a few songs in the soundtrack. Ones that are obviously in the movie, which are shocking because I remember watching it. "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head" was a song I was not expecting when I first saw this movie, but it's in a very bizarre scene where Peter Parker, I think, trips on something and he just gets back up and keeps driving.
There were so many montages in this film.
Yes.
That like every time there was a montage, there was music, and I was like, that's a choice?
Yeah, this is also the movie where I think we get our first the lady playing the violin, and she's singing the Spider-Man theme song. Just doing that accent, and I don't know if doing that is cool in 2022, but you know, it rides a line.
My problem was more that she was singing very in tune until the very end.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're trying to convince me that she's singing poorly,
Yeah.
but she's doing a good job for most of it.
Yeah.
And that took me out of it. I was like, you don't have me there.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't. It's I don't know. I just don't think it's needed this far in the world. But yeah, there's that. The song that obviously the movie is to me is most memorable, and it happened with the last one, which Hero is the most memorable Spider-Man song. But Dashboard Confessional's Vindicated is probably one of my favorite songs of all time. I highly recommend giving it a listen. It is one of the emo classics, as you are. But the funny story about the song is the only reason why they wrote this song is so they could see Spider-Man 2 early.
You know what? Good for them. Honestly, I would do it too. Like,
yeah. They wrote the song in a weekend, and they were like, we want to see Spider-Man 2, so this is why we did it. So we wrote a song in a weekend. So, yeah, that is the bangers and music that you can see. I will add these to Spotify list. I know that right now not a lot of people are a fan of Spotify, and I will figure out the direction of where that's going to go. We'll promise to get the damn Apple Music one up and running, so that way people have a choice, because I think people deserve a choice, and I think hopefully by the end of this next couple episodes there will be a playlist. I will definitely make that a priority. So we'll do that. And now my favorite part of the show, I have a quiz for you. It is quiz time. We are going to go ahead and answer these questions that have been ruminating. So very excited. So
real quick, we don't
Yes.
have our usual question in here.
Oh, does Stanley have a cameo? Yeah, you're right. I probably forgot.
Maybe. I think so. There was a moment.
We'll look
It
it
was
up.
during. So it was right after the bank vault where Doc Ock takes May, and she's up in the air or whatever, and she's about to fall, and on the ground there's an old dude who grabs the lady and pulls her back from like the crumbling falling down, and I
Yeah.
went, I think that's Stanley, but I could be totally wrong.
I am trying to find it here. There is a clip. I'm watching this clip. Oh, there's music. Hold on. I'm trying to say this clip. You are absolutely correct. That is the scene. You found
Really?
him. Yeah, you found Stanley.
Fuck yeah.
That is the scene. It is when Doc Ock and Spider-Man are fighting. And yeah. That absolutely happens. Okay.
It was like I was in the middle of writing notes and I like glanced up and I went, I think that was Stanley, and I didn't pause to check. I was just like, I'll find out on the show.
You nailed it. You already got 1 point for the quiz. So there you go. Okay, so you're 1 out of 4, I guess, here. All right, this question's great, and it also has another one of those fun stories about the plot I'll tell you about. Famously, Tobey Maguire suffered a back injury during the filming of Seabiscuit. Which actor were they considering on replacing Tobey with to play Peter Parker? Was it A, Topher Grace, B, Ashton Kutcher, C, Jake Gyllenhaal, and D, Sean William Scott?
I'm gonna be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know two of these people.
Say who they are, and I'll try to explain who they are.
Topher Grace and Sean William Scott. No idea.
Topher Grace was the lead of That 70 Show. He's Eric Foreman, if you know who that is. He is all. You're gonna see him in Spider-Man 3. He's gonna be Eddie Brock. Sean William Scott was in American Pie. He was also in Dude, Where's My Car with Ashton Kutcher, where they have a very touching makeout scene. It's very weird.
Good for them.
Yeah, I want to have a conversation with you about that film, because it is both a product of its time of like, ooh, that's gay, but we're doing gay things, so I don't understand. Like, so are you gay or are you not gay? Like, it's like, is it not a gay film? I think the movie's pretty queer, but they don't want to express it. We got to talk about it. Like, I don't know. It's weird. It's such a weird product of its time where it's like, I think you're positive, but you're so towing a line. But anyways, for this question, yeah.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah, we'll make it. Yeah, I'll just like just check this movie out. It's very short. Okay, so do you think it was Jake Gyllenhaal, Ashton Kutcher, Topher Grace? Who do you think would have most likely have replaced Tobey Maguire, who was getting paid buku bucks?
Purely off of looks, when I pulled up Topher Grace, I was like, that could be convincing, but that seems like too easy of an answer. What was Jake Gyllenhaal doing at this time?
Bubble Boy? I have no idea.
I don't know.
I
feel like every time you ask one of these questions, it's like somebody who has come back and done something else. And like, so like my gut says Jake Gyllenhaal, but I don't think it would have been the right time for him. Like, I don't think he would have been an option.
Is it your final answer? The answer is Jake Gyllenhaal.
Really?
Yes, I think he was in a movie about he built a space rocket at this time. It was like a critical acclaim movie. I'm not sure what the title of it is. I think it's like Red October or something. It's some art house movie that was nominated, and I don't know if it won the Oscar or anything. But yeah, like this is roughly either Donnie Darko time or that movie came out. Bubble Boy comes out roughly around this time too. But yeah, I would say Jake Gyllenhaal is not Jake Gyllenhaal as you know him now, obviously. But this is, I think, the starting point of like we're gonna start seeing this guy in more things, because Ashton Kutcher and Sean William Scott overstayed their welcome and they disappeared. But yeah, and
I feel like
Grace.
Topher Grace, purely based on looks, would have been a great choice. So
Sure.
like,
I can see that. But the reason why this is also why they would consider replacing Toby is because, yes, he had this back injury. So they were going to think about getting Jake Gyllenhaal. But the other reason was he didn't want to come back for the sequel because he wanted more money. And so if you remember, there's a scene in this movie where he falls and lands on, guess what, his back. And he screams, "My back, my back." And then we'll talk offline about something else. So
that was a funny moment for me because of future stuff that we're not going to touch on.
Yes, exactly. So next question. True or false? There's a deleted scene where a character that is not Peter Parker wears the iconic spider suit.
I really want the fact of a deleted scene where J. Jonah Jameson is wearing the suit to exist. So I'm going to say true purely selfishly that I hope that's a thing, but I have no idea.
I got to show you something later. It is absolutely true.
Oh my God.
When he gets the suit, when he buys it from the bum, there's a deleted scene that you can find on the DVD, or it was included in a special version of Spider-Man 2 called Spider-Man 2.5 or whatever. It has a scene where not only does he put on the suit, he jumps on his table and tries to enact Spider-Man moves. And we're going to watch this after the show.
Amazing.
We're going to watch this after the show so I can show it to you. It is absolutely hilarious. And for the final question, so you've gotten 3 for 3 at this point. Now, if you can nail this last one, then you're golden. You ace the test. I mean, you still pass. It's still a passing grade, but still. What actor played a prank on Alfred Molina on the set of the film that is in this movie?
Please remind me who Alfred Molina is again.
He is Dr. Octavius.
Oh, ooh. Who would play a prank on him?
I'll tell you this, just to make it easier for you. The actor has a maybe less than a minute of screen time in the movie.
Oh, is it Willem Dafoe?
It is William Dafoe.
I would not have gotten that.
I had to give you that caveat because it would have been hard. Yeah. There is a famous video of Alfred Molina walking into his scene where he's like controlling the like arms and he's like trying to grab the thing, but he's watching it and he's seeing someone else do the exact script. and it's Alfred. It's William Dafoe with the goggles on and the full rig. Which, by the way, all those arms are real, and it's hilarious. We will watch that after the show as well. It is good. So you aced it. You absolutely aced this test. Fantastic. This is a wonderful showing of.
I think this is the first time I've ever gotten 100%.
You got an
on
ace.
this quiz.
Yeah, you got an ace. Out of 4 questions, you got an ace. So congratulations. That brings us to homeroom. We're going into the end here. We're heading home at this one. Is there any final thoughts on this film? Anything you want to leave off, or any expectations you have set for the third Spider-Man movie?
The first 2 have been great. I have thoroughly enjoyed them. I have not seen the third at all. I have no idea what happens in the third movie.
It's gonna be
And
good.
so I will be going into this totally blind. I will have no idea what's coming. And that is pretty exciting.
Yes, that is.
So we'll see. I think we have a bit to go before we get to.
We have a few movies coming up. Obviously, the next movie, if I'm not mistaken, is still Blade Trinity. We get to clean out that trilogy. It's done. We'll be done with Blade until we see him again in the MCU. So until then, yeah, I'm very excited about that. But yeah, I mean, my final thoughts on this movie is that, yeah, it's still Spider-Man. It's still a fantastic film. I honestly enjoy all 3 of them in different ways. Even the third one, which I know is lauded as not the best, but still, I think there's things to enjoy in all 3 films. And if you have an inkling to see them, I highly recommend them for many reasons, but I highly recommend them to enjoy the film for the merits of where they were in time as a place, because it certainly had a style to them that Sam Raimi can only really bring. And I'm, again, very excited to see what he does going back to superheroes with Multiverse of Madness. But
I would say if you watched No Way Home and were like, I don't know, go watch these movies.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy it. You'll get a lot out of it. And I think a lot of people I know went back and watched them before watching No Way Home, and then a lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's totally valid. However you want to go into that movie, totally fine.
Yes.
But if you were one of those people who went into No Way Home with no context for the other Spider-Man films, now's a good time to check it out. I think it'll only improve your experience.
Yeah.
And won't diminish anything.
And we already know that, some of the villains are in that film, and Dr. Octavius lives again in that movie. It's very cool to go find out how and what is the resolution of that story. So yeah, go see Spider-Man 2 from 2004. Go to the theaters now. But I think that pretty much wraps up our thoughts on Spider-Man. So hello, hey, it's your 2 favorites from the MC University. We talked about this during the show, where we're going to watch a couple clips from Spider-Man 2. Sly has never seen these, and I'm very excited. So first things first, we're going to show the deleted scene of J.J. Jameson wearing the spider suit. It's only a minute long.
So excited. You have no idea.
It's really cute. And here we go.
So good.
Spider-Man,
Violin lady.
Yeah, the very questionable violin lady.
Oh, what a good transition. Oh no. I love it.
I love how Betty is loving it.
So good. With the cigar.
Yeah. It's absolutely perfect. So funny. Oh, here, 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and get the other one prepped. But yeah, it's that is an absolute gem. But yeah, if you only saw that if you had the DVD and had a specific version included, which was bizarre. So, all right, cool. I have the next one up. This, I'll read it out loud. While preparing for a scene with Dr. Octavius in his lab, director Sam Raimi provides Alfred Molina with extra motivation to use his performance as Doc Ock.
Oh boy.
So, with a special help with a little guest.
Better acting? Here we go. Because if they want better acting, you better. Here's what they want. All right, practicing and action.
This precious target is the fuel that makes this project go. There are only 25 pounds on the planet. I want to thank Harry Osborne and Osborne Industries for providing it.
Excellent.
Absolutely. The story, I guess, behind that actually is Willem Dafoe was just in New York at the time, and he was just walking down the street and he saw people he recognized, which was people that were on Spider-Man 1. And then they were like,
and he was just like, "Hey, what's up? How's it going?"
I don't even think he was supposed to even be at the end of the movie too. I think that was all sort of like he was just there, and so they just put him back in. There's one last clip I want to show you. It is Doc Ock, Fiddler on the Roof, which I don't know if you've seen.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know if you've ever seen this. So Alfred Molina is actually famous for being on Fiddler on the Roof. So
I love Fiddler. I did a production of Fiddler in high school.
Well, here you go. After a tense day of filming green screen footage for Spider-Man 2, Molina takes a moment in between takes to lighten the mood, which he seems to be a very fun guy.
If I were a rich man, all day long I'd bitty bitty bum. If I were a wealthy man,
with so good.
It's absolutely classic, 100%. But yeah, that's Alfred Molina for you, just being an absolute.
Everything about that. I'm so glad I got to experience those with you.
No, absolutely. Sly, where can people find you on the internet? Because you have some fun places to tell us now.
Yeah, you can find me on the internet at SlyClanMC. You can find me on the Point in Progress podcast every week. That obviously, if you're listening to this, you know Point in Progress. You can find that everywhere. Mm-hmm. And you can also check me out at Stark Radio, where we just got back from a hiatus, and we're starting to do a couple things about going to award season. But also, there's a lot of big changes coming to that show soon. Okay. So come hang out with us and enjoy that show and get hyped for. We have a lot of big announcements coming, so that's very exciting.
Very cool. Of course, you can find me here at Point in Progress. But you can also find me here at MC University. You can also find me over at That Mario Rivera, where I will be doing a lot more stuff there in terms of Twitch or YouTube, but mostly TikTok because I've been having a lot of fun with that format. Find me at Tech Raptor. I finally launched a weekly show that will be going on continuously, which is me telling all the week's news in 1 minute. So usually those videos are going to go out on Saturdays. So that way you get all the week's worth of news. That's pretty much everywhere you can find me. The one things I did want to say, if you haven't already known, I should have said this at the top of the show, we actually have a separate audio feed now for MC University. You can absolutely find it. It should be on all the platforms that are listed. So yeah, we're no longer going to be on the Point in Progress feed, which honestly I think is best. So we have a separate place for you. You can get all the episodes. All the episodes are there, already backlogged, all of them there. So everything's clean. You'll still be able to find the video on Point in Progress. And yeah, enjoy it where you can. I'm happy the show is back. And then we're excited to talk about Blade Trinity, which is our next project. I am so excited to watch. Do you know the plot of this movie at all?
No idea.
I'm gonna tell you the log line. Ready? Blade versus Dracula.
All right.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Until next time, class is dismissed.
Do you want to do a bonus video of us?
My father.
No matter what I do,
you love me or not?
No matter how hard I try,
I want Spider-Man dead.
It's the ones I love who will always be the ones who pay.
I can't keep thinking about you. I'm getting married.
I want a life of my own. I'm Spider-Man. No more.
let things get in the way before. There was something I thought I had to do. I don't have to.
I liked seeing you tonight, Peter.
Now on to the main event.
Octavius is gonna put Oscorp on the map in a way my father never even dreamed of.
Crazy scientist turns himself into some kind of a monster. 4 mechanical arms welded right onto his body.
You take Spider-Man's pictures. Where is he?
It's ticking me off your loyalty to Spider-Man and not your best friend. Bring Spider-Man to me.
How do I find him?
Peter Parker.
Find Spider-Man, or I'll peel the flesh off her bones.
There are bigger things happening here than me and you.